Hot off the news of Disney announcing a bajillion new shows, we ended season 2 of The Mandalorian, and we're going to chat about it on episode 89 of the podcast. Cue the music. This is the way. Welcome, everyone, to the Entertainment Buffet podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Prosek. Jess is going to be out for just a little while working on some other things at the moment, but she will be back. In the meantime, I'm going to be cycling in some fun guests. One guest who he has been on the podcast a handful of times over the years, collaborator and man behind Deft Pictures, Josh Sibley. How you doing, Josh?
I'm good. I feel kind of like have some big shoes to fill.
The man behind Deft Pictures.
Yeah, and I mean, filling in for Jess. I don't know. I just I didn't know that. I thought I was being interviewed for my extensive knowledge of the Mandalorian.
Extensive knowledge. But yeah, we're going to be talking all about season 2 of The Mandalorian. The finale just happened a couple days ago at the time we are recording this. And so we're going to be talking about that finale that has had people buzzing all over the internet. There are going to be spoilers, just so you know. If you haven't watched it, I mean, guys, just go, you could rent Disney Plus for a month and binge all 16 episodes.
You do it in a weekend.
It's a very quick show to get through. I know from experience, it was only about a couple months ago that I binged all of season 1 right in time for season 2 to start. So it's very, very easy. I'm sure you've binged things of much bigger magnitude as far as length and episodes per season and all that stuff. So it's a very easy watch. But before we jump too far into that, please rate, review, subscribe. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, check us out. Give us comments, likes, and all that on Spotify. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. We have plenty of content on the Entertainment Buffet YouTube coming to you, including sketch videos, other podcasts, and a wide variety of content on the way, especially coming into 2021 here soon, which, that still seems weird to say.
Everything's going to be back to normal January 1st. That's what I was promised.
Everything's back to normal right away. But yeah, let's just, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the Mando season 2 finale. Josh, what were your initial thoughts on this finale? Because I was a little delayed in watching it. I didn't watch it. I think it usually drops midnight on Thursday or so.
Yeah.
So technically Friday morning.
I think it's like 3 a.m. or something like that. So
yeah.
It's like 2 a.m. Central Time.
Yeah, so I didn't watch it until Friday night, but all throughout the day I was trying to avoid social media because everyone's just like, oh my God, Mandalorian, oh, the feels, like, oh, I'm crying, you're not crying, I'm not crying, you're crying, like all kinds of posts of that variety. I was not spoiled, but I was just like, all right, so some shit goes down. I need to stay off Facebook and Twitter before someone ruins it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Were you spoiled on the big surprise, or what were your thoughts on the big surprise?
No, I saw a article that said something like, Mandalorian has a big reveal, or like the way it was phrased made it sound like there was a twist. So I kept waiting for it to be like Grogu's actually Yoda, or just something like he's a Sith Lord.
Yeah, he's actually evil.
He's actually evil, but like that never happened, obviously. And so I guess I didn't get anything spoiled other than they said a new show was coming, which obviously the end credit scene set that up.
Yeah,
but I didn't have anything spoiled for me, which was nice. So I went to it pretty clean. I wasn't expecting the last scene, and like
yes.
when it happened. We can talk spoilers, right?
We're spoilers.
Okay, I know you said it, but I just want to double check before I start dropping. Yeah, when Luke showed up, at first I was like, oh my God, Luke, and then I was kind of like, oh no, I kind of wish they hadn't done this. I kind of wish they hadn't brought him in. Like, I liked that it was so separate from the rest of the Star Wars, and now it's like, oh no, now he's tangled up in it.
Well, so I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people that see both sides. One thing that I'll bring up, it reminded me of is uh, Rogue One, the kind of the
Yes.
ending of Rogue One, which a lot of people, it was one of their favorite parts of Rogue One, which is just this insane, let's have Vader be a badass for like one scene. And
It's like 20 seconds. It's very short.
it's very short, but everyone loved it. And like
It's the last 2 minutes of the movie.
yeah, it's so quick, but it was so well done. And so I was thinking to myself, so obviously a few episodes prior, they had the whole scene where like Grogu is on this rock and like sending a signal out to other Jedi, and Ahsoka Tano pretty much said like, if another Jedi comes, that that's the deal. And so he sent the signal out, but then he gets captured. I'm like, well, the writer in myself is like, well, a Jedi has to come because they set that up. It feels like Chekhov's gun if they don't pay that off. And then, I was thinking to myself, well, this takes place after Return of the Jedi. So Yoda's already dead. Obi-Wan's been dead. We already showed Ahsoka Tano. It's not like she's going to be the surprise reveal.
I thought
So
she
like,
was. I really did.
so I was like, who else could it be? Like, do they bring someone back from the dead? But they already did that with Boba Fett. So like, would that be cheap? It's Mace Windu. It's a very old Samuel L. Jackson because Disney's not paying him enough with Marvel Studios. So I just kind of figured, I was like, I bet they're gonna do something with Luke, because it makes sense for the timeline, and also he's like the only Jedi that could show up. And also at some
Well,
point,
see, my money was on there's a couple Jedi you're missing.
well,
My money was going to be on Ezra Bridger, who's from the Rebels show, which Ahsoka was a part of, and some of the other stuff they've been borrowing from that. Dave Filoni created that in Clone Wars, so my money was on that. Or there was a Cal something or another. It's from the video game. One of the video games is canon, and he's
which
also a surviving Jedi. So I
I
thought they were going to bring like the live action counterparts in for these guys.
which I should specify, I have not seen any of the animated shows.
That's
I
why I'm
didn't.
here.
I didn't see the animated movie. Josh has way more
There was
knowledge
an
in that
animated
stuff.
movie?
Well, there was the Clone Wars movie.
Oh yeah, it's like 3 episodes smashed together, and they have like I think Christopher Lee does the voice of Count Dooku, but that's the only. It's terrible. It's
Is it?
awful.
Well, that's the thing, is like a lot of people kind of forget that it was a thing. I think they were hoping like, oh, this could be a whole, you know.
I mean, it launches a really good show. It's just the beginning of it's really rough.
Yeah. So I was, as someone, I was like, well, a general, I don't want to say general audience Star Wars member, but a non extended show and video game knowledge. I've read some comic books, but I was thinking to myself, it's got to be Luke. And then the way that they kind of set it up, that they're all trapped there, I was like, okay, like this is clearly they're going to get rescued. I think I turned to my girlfriend and I said, Deus Ex Jedi, like.
That's the truth.
And he just comes in and just mows down these these droids like they're
Wow, they
nothing.
gave him no trouble. Like they just like were like they were worse than the rebel soldiers in the hallway with Vader. They all
Yeah,
kind of like just stood there and let Luke slice him to pieces.
yeah. Which I think the thing, much like the Rogue One moment with Vader, is these directors who are making The Mandalorian either grew up watching the original, or maybe were a little bit older, so like they've all been fans for probably years. And much like, and we'll talk more about Boba Fett later, it's kind of like their chance to do what they want with these characters. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure they pitched like, oh, well, what if we just have like one scene with Luke? It's much like the Vader thing. Like it'll get a bunch of people, freaking out, and it'll just be a badass moment. We get to see green lightsaber, black outfit Luke, which like so many people thought was like badass from Return of the Jedi. So I felt like that was them kind of like fanboying, being able to use that character.
In the height of his power too, because we never saw that. We saw Luke kind of almost being a Jedi. I mean, he was kind of a Jedi. I mean, he really only trained for like 5 hours in Dagobah, so apparently you don't need to do a whole lot of training. And
Yeah, well, then
like
there's the
they,
gap between Empire and Return of the
it's like
Jedi.
6 months though. It's only like 6 months,
Oh,
or
that's true.
it's not a lot. I mean, did he go back to Yoda multiple times? If he's going to go one time, in which it's like, no one ever talks about that time in between Star Wars. Like, what happened between 5 and 6? Like, what did they do? What took them a year to get? I mean, like Lando leaves in like Han's clothes to go to Tatooine. So is he like undercover for like a year, and then they show up? I've always wondered this.
Don't say that, because you know that they're gonna make that a show someday.
It needs to be.
They're gonna just make television shows that connect all the different things that may have gaps. I mean, Rogue One movie was entirely developed around a plot, like we'll just say
A plot hole. It's a plot hole.
A plot
let's
hole in the first movie, or at least something that a lot of people questioned, and they made an entire movie around it. The plot hole became an entire plot. Let's just say that.
I want to start. So you didn't see Clone Wars, but when Disney Plus brought it back, the last 4 episodes take place during Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
So they do a lot of like, stuff with like Maul and Ahsoka and some of the clones, like something you never thought that you needed. And it's actually better than Revenge of the Sith, like as the storytelling thing. But that's what I want them to do, is I want them to make like movies or animated shows that take place during the movies already. So like, I mean, like, the scenes where we're seeing Han Solo, what's Luke doing? Let's just really fill it out so that each movie becomes this like 8-hour event.
See, that makes me think of the amazing comic book I read. Have you ever heard of the characters Tag and Bink?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which they
I think there was
almost
some reference to them, wasn't there? In Solo or something.
There was going to be a cameo, but I believe it got cut. But yeah, these are just two characters who they were stormtroopers or whatever that were always like in the background, and their entire comic book story is just, who was the person who like shot C-3PO to fall over?
Off screen.
Yeah, off screen, and they're like, oh, it's them, and like all these off screen things.
Oh, so they're like the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of the Star Wars universe.
Exactly. For those who know that from Shakespeare, they're exactly the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. I want that.
The Lion King 1.5 of Star Wars.
I want that movie. We're gonna be getting.
I'm sure we are.
We're gonna be getting so much Disney Plus Star Wars content. Like, make Tag and Bink happen. But anyway, so yeah, that I think here's what it's hard to say now, because we obviously don't know where the Mandalorian show is going to go. But I think this Luke cameo will work if he never comes back.
How is he not going to come back? I mean, they have to bring him back.
Well,
because Grogu can't be gone. I mean, like I don't know if you see in my screen behind me. I got a little. He's just a child at this point, but a little Grogu pop Funko. I mean, they're not going to get rid of that cash cow.
Well,
attacking the chair.
Well, they can bring Grogu back, but they don't have to bring Luke back. Because, like, let's be honest, like, that technology, like, sure, it looked fine, but there's parts where I'm just kind of looking at it, I'm like, this face swapping stuff, it just like a lot of people were very iffy about the Grand Moff Tarkin stuff in Rogue One, or like the Leia,
because he looked like a walking corpse.
Like, it's I don't know, I think it's gonna be special if this is it. Just let it go. We can bring Grogu back at some point, but not Luke. Make it just this badass moment. It happened, and don't fixate on it. But if, like you said, if like now he becomes too ingrained in like popping in every now and then I'm like, all right, well, now it's not special. It's not. It's just another thing which we've gotten Luke. Go watch the original trilogy. Go watch Last Jedi. Like he's in plenty of stuff. We don't need him to be now infiltrating the Mandalorian series, which was doing so well by introducing new characters or bringing in these live action adaptations of animated characters that we don't need Luke to come back. We don't need a Han cameo or a Chewie cameo. And yes,
that's gotta happen.
We got a fucking R2 cameo, because God forbid we never have R2.
That was just like, I can't think of another franchise that milks its fan service as much as Star Wars does. And I'm a huge Star Wars fan, don't get me wrong. But I look at Star Wars when I watch it through like two lenses. Like one of it is like the Star Wars fan. They get super excited by seeing Luke, you know, just kicking ass, killing a bunch of battle droids or whatever those things were. And then also like from like the filmmaker kind of storyteller perspective, where I'm like, stop doing fan service every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, for me as and like we'll dive more into this once we finish the finale talk, but like the reason why the Ahsoka Tano, which am I saying that right? I even know if I'm saying it right.
Ahsoka Tano. Her first name's Ahsoka, so we just say Ahsoka.
Okay,
it's
Ahsoka.
Not one word. It's
when they brought Ahsoka in, I just heard of it. I'd seen pictures of this character. I'd never watched any of the animated stuff to where she was on and coming from, but everyone was a huge fan of hers. The reason I think it was fine to bring her in, it didn't quite feel like milking, is because the way they introduced her, we don't need to know. Like, I don't need to see that other stuff. I'm really curious to go watch it now, to watch the animated content, because a lot of people recommend it. But as someone who hadn't seen it, I didn't feel like, well, what the fuck, who is this, you know? Whereas like the Luke stuff can feel very, you know, milking it, like you were saying. It can feel like it's milking it too much, because it's just like, hey, remember that it's Luke.
Well, the South Park member berries. It is. It's like, oh, remember that? Remember Boba Fett? Remember? I mean, if you're talking just the finale, I definitely thought that I really thought that from the episode The Jedi for the Ahsoka one up to the finale they had a really strong run of episodes.
Yes,
they really did, and I thought that the finale was one of the weaker of the second half of the season.
Okay. Is it because most of it was built on, you know, we've set up, Mando has his little Avengers crew,
it was too much. It was too, you know, okay, we know we're going to go infiltrate the base. Here we go. Let's go. And just pew pew, shoot them up for 20 minutes. And I thought that the fight scene the choreography was great, but the fight scene between Mando and Grand Moff Gus were just kind of Gideon, I think is his name, Moff Gideon, were just kind of. I thought the choreography was really good, but it was really short.
Yeah,
and I wanted to see a little bit more with that. And I thought that the Bo-Katan stuff got kind of lost. Like, why didn't she mention earlier? Like, part of her plan was that she needed to, you know, beat him in battle, because then maybe she should have gone with Mando to go and get Gus.
That's
good Gideon. Keep calling him that.
Yeah, like that's where it's you know, a thing that I like about Mandalorian, but also plays into its flaws sometimes as a show, is I like that the episodes are usually never more than like 50 minutes. You know, I like that they're 40 so minutes, and maybe they'll take a story that could have been like an hour of television and they break it up into maybe like a 35-minute episodes, basically. But the problem is sometimes things can feel like rushed or like a little clunky at times. You know, clearly they set all this up to where, you know, all right, he has this crew, they're going to rescue, you know, and like you said, it's like some cool action, but also it felt like a lot of things kind of went a little too smoothly. Like, yes, he had the battle with the one droid, which I liked that scene, because it was just like, well, what the hell is he gonna have to do to beat this thing?
Injects him out into space.
Yeah.
Like, well, I literally said out loud, like watching it, I was like, well, that was a major design flaw in that system, huh?
Yeah, yeah, to keep them right by at bay like that. But just the fact that
this would have been the end.
But just the fact that like they didn't have to have like a final stand later with him, because Luke just came and swept them all away. Now, if they had to beat some and then like maybe someone died and then like they're cornered and they're about to die and like Luke came in, to be a little bit different. But like it just, like you said, it was like shootout, cool, little scene here. Oh, wait, what's this dark saber stuff? You know, it just
I still don't
Where
understand the Darksaber. I've seen everything. I don't get it. Like,
where
does it?
I like the name Grand Moff Gus, where like Grand Moff Gus is, you know, all of a sudden turning into Sir Exposition and just like, oh, don't you know? Like, you can only use the dark saber when you beat someone in battle, and like da da da. And he's just kind of like, like over here, just explaining this whole
Uh,
thing. And Mando just doesn't care. He's just like, just take it. I don't give a shit.
it
Like, I
reminded me of like Mando is the audience member like watching Rise of Skywalker when
don't.
Palpatine's like, just kidding. Actually, you guys are a Force dyad, so I can use all of your power. And it's like, well, wait, what? Like, why wasn't this information brought up earlier?
Yeah. Because yeah, I mean, we've only seen that dark saber. There was like one moment where he turned it on near Grogu, and like that's all we saw with it. You know,
No,
we had
he
no
had
idea.
at the end of the first season. That was the big season 1 reveal.
Well, I mean, sure, but like the point is, like you said, we didn't know this whole backstory that like you need to beat someone to have it, and like you need to use it to rule Mandalore. And I get it; they're trying to set up stuff for season 3, most likely, but it just felt like a scene where after we had all this action, now we're all standing in this room and we're talking about this dark saber. When like as an audience, we care that like Grogu's safe. We're like, oh, it's awesome that like we get to see Luke and like this sweet moment with Mando and Grogu, where he takes his helmet off, like all these things, but
I
also
did like
like
that moment.
dark saber, dark saber. I'm like, I don't care,
I'm thoroughly convinced that the way that Disney keeps Dave Filoni happy is being like, you know what, we're going to cancel the show that you're currently working on, but you're very much allowed to finish the arcs of that show in a different show. Just you got to find a creative way to put it in. I mean, because that was the issue with Clone Wars was they canceled it and he never got to finish his Darth Maul arc that because he was the one that brought back. I mean, and George Lucas was involved in that show in Clone Wars. He brought back Maul and introduced Ahsoka and Captain Rex and a couple other characters that then show up in Rebels. And
Mhm.
one of the things that's carried from there was a lot of lore around the Mandalorian culture and everything, and it's a really good arc with like Obi-Wan, and because Obi-Wan was like in love with like Bo-Katan's sister or something like that,
Oh.
because there's a whole joke that's like, for if Obi-Wan had a nickel for every time that Darth Maul had impaled someone he loved in front of him, he'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. But so there was a lot of stuff in the Dark Saber was introduced in that. And
Okay.
fun little nerdy fact for you, the guy, the character, his name was like Previsla or something like that, which just sounds like Previs. They were like, oh, what do you want to name him? I don't know, Previs Vila. But he was like the original Dark Saber bad guy, Mandalore guy in Clone Wars, and he's voiced by Jon Favreau.
Oh.
So that's how he got introduced to Dave Filoni, I believe. But yeah, they can carry the Darksaber through these 3 shows. And so it's interesting that I'm just kind of like, oh, they're going to keep doing this. When are we going to bring back, obscure references from Clone Wars episodes?
Well, so yeah, I guess the finale, I don't know. I don't want to say it didn't work at all, because like I think it was clearly just the payoff for like everything they've been setting up. Um, One thing that I'm happy about that I think some people aren't happy about, and I'm hoping, here's the thing. I'm hoping, let's just say Mandalorian goes for like 5 or 6 seasons. I hope that we don't see Grogu till like season 4 or 5. Like I don't want to see him at all season 3, like at all. We had 2 seasons of him being cute constantly. I'll admit there's plenty of times I crack up, and it's like, like when a cat or a puppy is being cute, it's like, God damn it.
He's too cute. He's too cute.
He's too cute, like to where it just felt like a little bit much sometimes. I love that Mando has this like structure that like he goes on these side quests or side adventures or like kind of one-offs. But he had an overarching story. But like I'm kind of sick of Grogu. We had 2 seasons of it. I think we told plenty of story with it. He's with a Jedi. We had a mission this season to get him to a Jedi. He is let's go to something else. Like if it means this Darksaber Mandalore stuff, I'm down to try something else.
Well, he's the ruler of Mandalore now, technically.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see that kind of stuff. I don't need more saving Grogu, traveling with Grogu. Look, he's cute. Give him the little handle thing from the
Yeah.
ship.
I mean, they'll do something. I mean, to me, the bigger issue I had was that I think that the goodbye Grogu scene didn't pack as much of an emotional punch as it could have, because we as an audience know Luke,
Mm-hmm.
and we know where Luke ends up, and we know, how Luke is, and Mando doesn't.
Yeah.
And so kind of that scene wasn't as, to us, it's like, oh yeah, of course I can give it to Luke Skywalker. I'd give my firstborn kid to Luke Skywalker. He seems like a cool guy. I grew up with him, but like he has no idea who this is. And I kind of wish it had been a different Jedi, that it was
Okay.
this trust of like, well, we don't know if this is going to work.
Okay.
I mean, but then again, I mean, we need to like look at the timeline, because like if he trains with Grogu for like 10 more years, Grogu definitely got murdered by Kylo Ren. Like we need to address that.
Or something like Ahsoka, where he like leaves and is not a Jedi. It's hard to say, but yeah, I don't want to see Luke. I don't want to see Grogu. I want them to go be a separate thing. I think we had this emotional payoff, and we bring them back, then it'll lessen both the Luke cameo and or that moment where he takes his helmet off to Grogu.
But we got to see Grogu fight Kylo Ren, right?
I mean, that's to me. I wouldn't mind seeing more Adam Driver.
I mean, Grogu survived the Jedi Purge, I mean, it's like he survived this one massacre only to then have it happen again. Like the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
It's like the grandson of the original, guy. Like,
Yeah.
I just assume in my head that's my new canon, is that Grogu goes through 2 Jedi massacres.
Yeah, I don't know. I see, that's the thing, is like then that becomes like a whole nother show, and I want, some of my favorite stuff was Mandalorian, where it wasn't Grogu. Grogu wasn't like it was just like on the ship, or in the background, but was never like the main thing. I loved the episode before the finale with where he's with Bill Burr. I loved the season 1 episode with Bill Burr. I love
I didn't like that one. That's probably my least favorite episode of the whole show.
Which one?
The first Bill Burr episode.
Oh, really?
It had nothing to do with Bill Burr. I thought he was fine in it, and I thought it was funny because he hates Star Wars so much that Bill Burr is in this show. Like, it's just like a winking joke, like, okay. But I don't know what they're called. Like I watch the shows and stuff, obviously, but the Twi'lek or something like that, a Twilight, the tentacly head gear piece.
Sure.
The lady from the first season, who's not the only woman, I suppose, in that episode, her acting is just atrocious. It's like they grabbed her off the street and were like, "You want to be in this Star Wars show?" And she's like, "Sure."
I can't say I remember her that well. Maybe it's because I was just paying attention to the other stuff.
It was just double cross upon double cross, and as Bill Burr called him, and Hellboy was there, and all sorts of. I thought that I'm going to collect my thoughts and say this again. The episode "The Prisoner" of season 1, I think it's episode 5 or 6, was the worst episode of the series, and people can get angry with me with that. But to me, that's when I started getting kind of like, I'm tired of this show. Like, give me some sort of like, is this going somewhere? Or like, is this just an adventure show every week? And
see, I think that's something that's not necessarily bad. Like, I
don't either. But they couldn't find what they were.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is like he was like protecting the child and kind of on the run, and then obviously
they kind of lost that thread.
Well, they
in
lost
season
that
one.
thread, and then season 2 became like he was given the mission in the season 1 finale, like you need to return him to his people, like return him to a Jedi. And so then like it's all about him trying to find a Jedi, and sometimes he needs to do this in order to get information from this person, and he needs to go do this in order to get that. Like I don't necessarily mind that because there's an overarching angle or overarching story, but it's not like it's super intertwined to every single episode, or it's just like a minor part of it. So, and then like the later part of the season, obviously Grogu's taken, and now it's about that rescue. But that's the thing. I was like, if you keep Grogu around, like it's gonna get old. It's gonna get old, and like, yeah, he's cute, but like, let's take a break from him. Now let's go maybe to this Mandalore stuff, which like I still don't quite understand. Like, was the Mandalore like were they all destroyed, or like the planet was destroyed? Like, I don't quite follow that, or at least the way they've said things offhandedly, trying to watch week to week. I'm like, wait, what's happening? What
I
happened to
I
them?
don't think and someone can email about this or something, but I don't, from my limited knowledge of Star Wars, I don't think that the purge of Mandalore they keep referring to has ever been like shown in canon as to what it
Okay.
is. Like there was a bunch of like Mandalore wars that happened
Mm-hmm.
like way before that that have been like discussed and everything. And there's argument as to if Jango Fett was a Mandalorian or not.
Okay.
But I don't think that this great purge of Mandalore has ever been shown.
Gotcha. So yeah, maybe that's something that we explore in season 3, is him maybe not necessarily ruling, but some sort of conflict with that, and then maybe various adventures happen with that. But like, I'm done with Grogu. I don't need more Luke. That's like that's the main thing I got out of this finale. I was like, great, you paid this off. I think you did a great 16 episode story with it, but like it's time to move on and do something different. Otherwise, like this shouldn't have been called The Mandalorian. It should have been like The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
So the finale, I think it was really focused on the actual like rescue and like some action. Um, but now let's kind of like move on and talk about just season 2 as a whole. Um, I still think that I don't necessarily think I can compare like, oh, I liked season 2 more than 1 per se,
Oh,
because
I can.
okay, go ahead then.
I mean, I rewatched season one before season two came out.
Okay.
I liked it. I liked it more the second time. I definitely found myself with season two, like the first couple episodes. I was like, I'll get to them. But when they started picking up, I would, I'm going to watch it Friday night. Like I want to watch it for the weekend, so I'm getting spoiled.
Yeah.
But like season one, I mean, I think I gathered like 3 or 4 episodes where I'm like, oh, I should probably catch up on this show, huh?
So yeah,
And
so it felt like it wasn't catching you season 1.
it really wasn't. There was something about it that was just, I enjoyed it, but it felt off to me, and maybe I was just a little burnt. No, that came out before Rise of Skywalker, didn't it? Or right
Yeah.
around. Yes, maybe I was a little. I don't know. It was not a great time to be a fan last winter.
Yeah,
uh,
I'll admit, I mean, I avoided watching. I don't want to say
yeah,
avoid, but
you didn't
like,
watch it until like this year.
yeah, well, I was like, I have enough on the streaming services I have to watch. I'll eventually get to Mandalorian, and I kind of liked that I had the whole season like banked for when I was ready. And then it turned out that I eventually changed. I'm on a family plan for Verizon, and when we change the plan, like we get Disney Plus and Hulu for like what
Oh
we're
yeah.
paying for. And so I was like, well, I have it now. I may as well start. And then it just happened to coincide about a month or so before season 2 was happening, and so I was like, oh well, let me just binge it and then I can follow along for season 2. But yeah, I'm leaning towards liking season 2 more than season 1. But I think it's because it feels like we were jumping to plenty of different we went to different planets, we dealt with different characters, we also we're able to tie in like things like Ahsoka and bring Bill Burr's character back. We're able to have the episode with Timothy Oliphant. We were able to let's see what
Boba Fett.
yeah, and then we'll
Bring in
eventually
Boba
get to
Fett.
we got to Boba Fett. I just think that it did a good job tying calling things back to season 1, but setting things up and paying things off for season 2. It didn't stretch things too far. Obviously the whole season was about returning him to a Jedi, but like that's not just like that's not an easy thing to do. It's not just like 1-800 where's a Jedi, like it's a
Yeah.
it's like they're like destroyed, so like it's like all right, so it should take him time to find one, so it made sense, and it didn't feel like they just like strung that along or milked that. I don't know, I really enjoyed season 2.
I said the
Besides,
last half of it was really strong.
yeah,
I thought they really got it going with the last half.
yeah, I mean, I think they started off kind of similar to season 1, where like especially the first few episodes were very much like, here's this situation with a whole new set of characters, and here's this situation with a whole new set of characters. But then with Grogu, like once they met Ahsoka and they're like, all right, you got to go to the stone, and then like that's where like Jedi are gonna come, and like that's when finally Moff Gideon came in and took him. It's like, okay, we were putting off Grand Moff Gus returning because like we knew that was just coming back eventually. I think we got to, talk about like the big thing that I think a lot of people were wondering if this could happen in some fashion in Star Wars. Like there was rumors years ago of there being a Boba Fett movie, but when they kick off the season, like Timothy Oliphant is wearing Boba Fett's armor. It's like, okay, is this just like a playful nod? That like, hey, we don't have Boba Fett anymore. He's dead. Like, well, here's his armor that everyone loves. So
I
what do you
believe there
think?
was a book. I don't remember. I didn't read it, but I heard it was one of those Force Awakens tie-in books or something like that, where it was kind of like building up what happened after Return of the Jedi before that, and that character that he plays, that Timothy Oliphant, I can't say his name, Timothy Oliphant plays, is in that book, and it's
Okay.
referenced that the armor, he has Mandalorian armor that looks like it's been digested or something along those lines. So the seed was planted years ago that
Oh,
Boba
okay.
Fett did survive.
Yeah, which I'm sure plenty of people thought that, especially because, as the popularity of Boba Fett and the armor just like grew over the years, I think everyone was like, "There's no way that like that's just how he died."
But part of me kind of wish that was like, I mean, like what a punk way to go out.
Like I remember once seeing a list of like the 100 most popular characters in like movie history, and there was of course a handful of Star Wars ones on there, and like Boba Fett was on there, and I'm
He
like,
doesn't do anything though. He stands there
but
and
he looks so
he
cool.
looks so cool.
That's the main thing. It's just he looks so cool enough to where like they had to make Jango Fett a thing.
Yeah, I mean, have you heard about these people that went to go see Rogue One, and they didn't understand why Darth Vader was there or something like that? Like they didn't get that it was a prequel.
No, I
There were these people, they're like, you consider yourself a casual fan. These are like the most casual fans. Like they didn't understand that there was like a spin-off movie.
okay.
So I'm thoroughly convinced that there is someone out there who was watching The Mandalorian, and in the episode where Boba Fett showed up, they were like, oh shit, this isn't Boba Fett the whole time? I thought I was watching Boba Fett and Baby Yoda.
Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt it. What general audience, like real general, I'm still like a nerd, and I've read comic books and I've seen the movies plenty of times, but yeah, I just haven't dove too deep into the extended because like there's just so much
There's
Star
so
Wars
much,
kind
yeah.
of like it would have to be like the one of the main things, like the only things I'm into, and like I have other things I'm nerdy about.
Well, most people think that the show is actually a prequel, and that is an actual Baby Yoda. Like they don't realize where it takes place or when it takes place, I should say.
Yeah, I really wish they could have given him a name like end of season 1 or beginning of season 2. Like they did it around midway through season 2, but I was just like, oh my god, everyone's just gonna keep calling him Baby Yoda. And then finally, it's like, oh, his name's Grogu, and then I was like,
Stop
thank
calling him
God.
Baby Yoda.
Yeah, I was like, thank God. So let's talk about how they brought Boba back. Um, you
Well,
know
he's at
that
the end of the first episode.
well, like not that we know,
Oh,
that
that was him. I mean, it was a lot of people were like, well, it could have been Captain Rex. It could have been any of the clones. I'm like, yeah, but why would they spend all the episode from like a writing perspective? Why would they spend all the episodes setting up his armor only to then show some random guy standing in the desert looking at it?
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I maybe it's been so long since I've seen that first episode, since it's been like a month or two, maybe even a couple months by now, that I don't quite remember. I remember there'd be like a shadowed figure that'd be like, who's that?
Well,
But
he's because they did confirm that was him at the end of the Tatooine episode of the first season.
yeah, but I mean like even so like a couple months ago or however long, or maybe for some people if they haven't seen it since a year ago, it's one of those things that you probably just like, oh yeah, that's a thing, but like I'm more preoccupied with like
Oh yeah,
other
rewatching it, I was like, oh yeah, they never explained what that was. I forgot about that.
yeah. So Boba Fett comes in a very badass fashion. This was where like I was talking about, like when they brought in like Luke with the green lightsaber, the black outfit. They're just like, this is how you do Boba Fett. The outfit looks cool. He's cool. He's
And
the best.
let's give a shout out to Robert Rodriguez
Yeah.
for doing that episode. I read an article on I think it was Slash Film talking about that. He said he was a last minute replacement as a director.
Oh.
And the script was only 16 pages, and so he beefed up the action. And I've always been curious as to who the original director of the episode was supposed to have been.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because yeah, that was the thing too. Was I remember I'm watching that episode. I'm like, this is like all action, which like it was good action, but it was
Oh,
just
it
to
was
the
very, very Rodriguez.
but it was like very action heavy. But I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, like a lot of this is action, and like Grogu's just in the force field, and like Mando's over here, but here's just Ming Na Wen, that actress being a badass, and here's Boba Fett being a badass.
Can we talk about her for a second?
Sure.
I have a theory. I don't think that they were supposed to bring her back. I think that the character was super popular
Okay.
because she was like real dead. You know what I mean? It was just kind of a throwaway line where she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm part robot now. Let's move on. Don't worry about this."
Well, sure. I mean, that actress was very popular with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She's in the infamous scene with Raul Julia in Street Fighter from the 90s.
Let's not forget she's Mulan. She's the
Yeah,
OG Mulan.
the OG Mulan. But yeah, like I knew when they brought her in, I'm like, how can they bring her in for one episode? That seems odd.
Well, they brought Timothy Oliphant in for one episode.
Well, like that made more sense,
So
because
far.
it's like, but like Ming Na Wen just popping in, I'm like, she seems like someone who like would fit in this show real well.
Yeah, if they brought Amos Sedaris back for like a second episode, I'm like, they have to bring her back.
Yeah. But yeah, they just have who like that actor who, for those who don't know, he was obviously the actor who is in Clone Wars as Jango Fett, and of course Boba Fett is a clone.
Clone Wars,
Therefore,
you mean Attack of the Clones?
Attack of the Clones, yes.
I just watched that last night. Like we're doing the Star Wars rewatch, and I'm standing by. That movie's terrible. Like it's much worse than the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. I would love to talk about.
We won't get it. We won't get into that,
but but yeah, about how Phantom Menace is not the worst prequel movie.
No, it's not.
So yeah, that was like such a highlight because here's a way to bring a character that everyone knows the look of. He obviously looks just like the main character with the armor and everything, but it's a way for fans to geek out again. I didn't think it was too milking the fan service because he comes in and he's in a couple episodes here and there, but like it's not he's also a very stoic, quiet character. He didn't just like completely take over the series, you know what I mean?
Unless, of course, season 3 is actually just the book of Boba Fett, and he literally took over the whole series. But I don't think that's true. Um, yeah, the only problem I had with Boba Fett, and yeah, I was like, finally we get to see him be a badass that we always imagined he was. The only problem I had with him was it was in the finale. It was when he was at that bar and he got taken out like a punk by that one Mandalorian. So I'm like, well, maybe he did deserve to fall in that Sarlacc pit.
That's WWE wrestler Sasha Banks who took him down.
Well, whatever, but still,
SmackDown's women's champion
took him out. I mean, honestly, between her and Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica, he's not going to fare well. But
I looked up that actor is like pushing 60, so like maybe the fact that Boba Fett is probably that age, it's like he gets taken out.
I thought you meant Bo-Katan, Katie
Sackhoff.
I was like, no, she's not 60.
No, the actor who plays Boba Fett.
Tamara Morrison.
Yeah.
I need a list of like all the names in this so I can like reference them, because like I can't. But his scene where in the bar and stuff, and he's like basically like, I'm doing the right thing and I'm helping these guys out. I'm like, dude, like 5 years ago, you were standing next to Darth Vader watching Han Solo be put into carbonite.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is like they found an excuse for him to be heroic. And it's like, maybe this is something they'll explore in like the Book of Boba, is that like after the Sarlacc pit thing, like maybe he's changed in some way.
Oh no, he didn't. I mean, that after credit scene.
But then the after credit scene, he just mows down and he's like taking over. But like, of all the things to do, why do you want to be like, I don't know.
Why like, Darth Maul do it? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of.
It just, that show is going to be real interesting to see how they pull that off with him as the lead. And obviously Ming-Na Wen is probably going to be in it. Like you said, they knew when they were figuring that out. It's like, well, we have to have an excuse to bring her back, but like Mando doesn't need her. Let's put her in the show.
I don't think they'll do it because it's Disney. I really think that the Book of Boba I heard it's a limited series, so I'm hoping that's true. It's only going to be like 8 episodes total.
Okay.
And I'm really hoping that they kill him off, like, properly this time. Like, make him full on bad. Show us the bad guy that we've always. I mean, because we love Darth Vader. I mean, when I think Star Wars is synonymous with Darth Vader.
Okay.
But he's a bad guy. You know what I mean? I mean, it's okay to have a bad guy. Give us a bad guy, and then kill him off.
That's what's going to be interesting about that too, is like, what is that story going to be? I'm sure there's books and both canon and non-canon and comic books and whatnot telling Boba's story, but like what they've set up so far, it's like, is he going to be, like you said, full on evil? And like, is there going to be a hero of that show? Like what? There's a lot of questions.
His children that never going to see their fat father again after he took over Jabba's palace.
Wait, he has kids?
I don't know. I just who knows if that guy has kids? Maybe what's the Salacious Crumb? The little puppet guy from Return of the Jedi. Maybe he's the hero. I don't know what happened to him.
It's the guy who was crying when like the big Rancor monster he comes back and he's like, all of you killed him.
I want to see that.
And they get that story. Original actor.
Please do.
So obviously they set up that, and we probably knew that this was going to happen, but they also set up a Ahsoka show.
I mean, I love that episode. Don't get me wrong, but it was a backdoor pilot.
It is such a backdoor pilot.
I mean, it was like
half backdoor pilot, half Mando episode. It
was just like, oh, I'm gonna go get Grand Admiral Thrawn, and once again, Dave Filoni, will you please come on and do the Mandalorian? We'll let you finish Rebels. You can be on this show.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I hope that like they've already made like plenty of spin-offs from this show.
Yeah, there's like the Rangers of the New Republic show too, which is like I assume is about those two X-wing pilots that like showed up in the second episode, and they're just
See,
like, okay,
I want a show about those two stormtroopers, but I think they're dead.
they're very dead. The Jason Sudeikis and Adam
Jason
Pally
Sudeikis,
one.
Adam Pally.
Is it Pally?
Yeah, that moment, I was just like, see, you can just make a straight up Star Wars comedy movie.
Yeah, that was great. Well, what about? Well, I mean, that was also Taika Waititi directed that episode, so that I think that helped with his humor. Let's talk for a moment about the storm. He wasn't a stormtrooper. He was like just the pilot guy at the beginning of the finale that like was holding the doctor guy hostage.
Oh, okay. What about him?
And he was like, "You guys are terrorists. Like, you killed millions of my like friends and stuff." And I was like, "Oh, finally, like an interesting bad guy." And then they like killed him instantly. But I was like, I want to see more of like how the Empire views the rebels.
Yeah, which that was one thing that they kind of also got into in the Bill Burr episode, where he was seemingly a stormtrooper. And the fact that like it sounded like something was ordered and like,
well, not to be nerdy, he was actually an Imperial Special Bureau or something like that, ISB. So he's not a stormtrooper, he's like a sniper.
Okay, well, point being, and then like a bunch of his guys, like buddies and whatnot, got killed, and that
Operation Cinder.
So that from Rebels?
No, that was something that was in I got really into Star Wars for a little. I mean, I've always been really into Star Wars, but really into Star Wars for a little bit. But that was the Emperor's like contingency plan.
Okay.
His basic like, and this was obviously before they resurrected him. But the basic idea was the Emperor had this whole thing of like this scorched earth policy of like, well, if I'm not ruling the Empire, nobody's gonna have the Empire. And he basically set up this whole thing to like just burn down a bunch of planets.
Great.
And so that's what he was. And then see, I thought, I mean, it's fan service, but like the fan of me was like, oh, it's cool. Bill Burr is at Operation Cinder.
See, I think what I liked about that is like the fact that he was on that side. It showed him like kind of obviously he left working for the Empire, and obviously the Empire like lost. But
spoilers.
um
This isn't a prequel show? I thought it was actual baby Yoda.
Yeah, I think it just like it showed a different side, much like that's why I really enjoyed the Finn character, in Star Wars Force Awakens. It's like, oh, he's someone who's just like, I don't want to just be like mowing down a town. So like that's something that I hope that they explore in some other shows. Of course, when they mentioned all these different shows, they mentioned that there's going to be a Mandalorian season 3. They mentioned there's going to be Ahsoka. And then like, yeah, you said like that pilot show that are probably going to cross over at some point to like some big, thing, Avengers style. I don't know how or in what way, but they did already talk about that.
I think that we're gonna see Star Wars, especially on TV, becoming more of a Marvel type universe where they are going to have these crossover things and they'll be in each other's episodes and stuff. And I think we're also going to see really short seasons and really short runs of shows.
Yeah.
I think Disney's trying to work on how we define like TV seasons. Like I think you might have an Ahsoka show that'll be 1 to 2 seasons max.
Yeah. Well,
which is fine.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with, not every season has to be, 13 episodes of something. That's one thing that Netflix struggled with the Marvel shows is like Daredevil was good, but then a lot of the other shows, it's like.
Even Daredevil had a lot of filler episodes.
Well, maybe I'll just forgive because I love Daredevil, but some of the other shows.
It's easily the best of the bunch, but it does have some filler.
Yeah, but I think that a lot of people struggled with watching the rest of the shows, because it's like 13 episodes is a lot, especially when they're all like 45 to 60 minutes. That's like it's a lot to do, and like if you're not really hooked, you're not going to finish it. So I think I like the idea, and it sounds like that's what they're also doing with these Marvel Studios shows, is maybe they're just 4 episodes, maybe they're 6 episodes. This Mando has just been 8 episodes, and I'd rather them be short seasons and they have like bigger budgets and they feel very, movie like, and like they can bring in different big stars to just drop in every now and then. That makes more sense than trying to stretch something to 13 or 20 episodes and it be even more like you said, filler.
Yeah, I think that there's a stigma around a TV show where it's like, well, if it ran for one season, it's not a good show. But then you slap the thing limited series on it, which is basically at this point saying it's just a really long movie.
Yeah.
We couldn't fit it in as one. I mean, because like Queen's Gambit is huge right now. I haven't seen the whole show, but I mean it's basically a 7-hour, 8-hour movie.
What happened to just saying miniseries? why do we hate that term?
I think there's something.
I
think there's something about from a marketing perspective, like limited makes you feel like, ooh, I need to watch it because it's limited.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I suppose, but yeah, that's one thing I was just like, what? These used to be called miniseries.
Well, like, I mean, you don't go to the store and buy Oreos that say, holiday season exclusive. They say limited edition.
Sure.
It's like, well, limited. I have to get some.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though they're going to be there next November through January.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I agree. I think that Disney is realizing that like with their own streaming service, you don't need. They have so much content on there already, and there are just going to be more over the years, like more movies and such falling on there anyway. And I bet there's some shows that they didn't even fully put on there, or like some that they put partial on, whatever it may be. So why not just have something last for like a month? Everyone love it and be loving it, opposed to the more you put out, like trying to stretch a season, the more people can pick it apart.
Everything they announced last week there was nothing. I think there were 2 things in it that were actual like new original ideas. Everything was based on Marvel, Star Wars, or were remakes or sequels.
Yeah. So, but I don't mind Star Wars and Marvel stuff continuing. It's as long as they bring new things to it. And I think what Mandalorian did for a lot of people was feel like Star Wars. It has some old things, but also felt just fresh.
Yeah. I think my biggest gripe with the Disney Star Wars era is, I mean, besides the sequel trilogy, is that they're so afraid of this like 30-year gap that they've created between 6 and 7, that Mando's the first show to really be in that time. And so that's exciting. And I wish they'd get more into that a little bit of like what happened after the Empire fell.
Yeah, but I also think that hopefully, and maybe not with this first run of shows, but like I'm hoping that they realize that it's like there's so many other, like it could take place maybe during 6 or 7 or whatever you want to do, but there's the entire freaking universe. Like expand the universe, go all over the place. You have characters that look different and could be totally different. Or you can go thousands of years prior to characters that we know, go 1,000
They
years
did announce
forward.
they have shows coming out like 200 years before Phantom Menace.
Good. That's the thing, is like don't do what you did with Solo.
I'm sure that R2D2 will show up in it though.
Yeah, like
he's actually been around for like 600 years, and we just never him and Yoda.
Yeah,
Yoda and Chewbacca. I mean, they're the ones they can just keep milking them for forever.
Yeah, but anyway, I guess as far as, was there anything else that really stuck out to you in season 2 of Mandalorian, or like thoughts on like season 3 of Mandalorian?
I'm hoping for season 3, kind of like you said. I don't mind if we see Grogu. I think it'd be cool to have just a little like hologram check in on him or something.
Yeah, that's
like
fine, but
like
like
a
not
little,
like a significant
or
amount.
just yeah, just something that he's keeping some sort of tabs on him.
Mm,
Um, I would love to see more of the mythology of why Grogu's so special and that explored. Because it went to a little bit,
mhm.
with season two, kind of the cloning stuff and the tanks and the vats and all of that. I think that'd be cool to explore. And as I said, like following like the Empire trying to struggle to survive, 5 years after they fell.
Yeah.
And I would love to see more of the Mandalore stuff and just the character. I want to because they're setting it up. I mean he's starting to doubt his creed,
Mhm.
and I want to see more of him as a character
Yeah,
and
it'll
and
be
how he falls into it.
yeah, I think that's why I'm looking forward to the idea of Grogu being away is not just because like, oh, I'm sick of seeing that character, but more so like focus on something with
The Mandalorian.
the Mandalorian that isn't just like, oh, he was a foundling, this is a foundling, he's being fatherly and this, and he's questioning his creed. Like, great, great, great. Now let's keep expanding that you're questioning things. What are you really about? Like, where's your life gonna go? Like, are you just going to bounty hunting? Or like what's the next thing?
No, I think my own little personal quick take, because I know we've been talking for a while. My own little personal quick take is that the name of the show is The Mandalorian, and I think that the gist of the show is that he is an important Mandalorian, like the Mandalorian that changes things, that does something. So we're actually just seeing this guy go from bounty hunter to the Mandalorian
Yeah,
that changes everything. So I don't know if that's for Mandalore, for the galaxy, for what have you, but he is the Mandalorian
I
that
like
that the
that.
Star Wars history will remember.
Yeah, I like
But I
that.
could be wrong.
um well, Josh, yeah, any other thoughts on season 2 that you had?
I liked it better than season one. I thought it dragged in the mid part, just because it turned into every every single episode was, I have a quest. Okay, well, can you do this other thing instead? Is almost a suicide mission. Halfway through, they will turn on you. That's fine. I'll do it anyway. And then it got a little bit better, but
And backdoor pilots.
and backdoor pilots and Beskar apparently is just like, you can't you can melt it and like make armor out of it, but like lightsabers don't affect it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I thought it was a solid season. I said the finale was a little disappointing, but it definitely made me enjoy Star Wars again.
Yeah, I'm enjoying seeing a new iteration. I think it works in a television format really well. That I think that was one thing that it could be difficult. That's why every time a movie came out, it was always like there's 3 trilogies, and then even when they tried to do one-offs, everyone's like, yeah, but like, is the Han Solo movie going to lead to its own trilogy? Is there going to be a Rogue One sequel? Like all these different things, and I'm like, can't we
Yes, there
just
was a
like
Rogue One sequel. It was called A New Hope.
I was like, can't some things just like have a beginning, middle, and end?
Nope.
So like this is a different form of it that it makes sense the way they're going, that why it's continuing to go. But yeah, I'm really interested to see season 3. I'm really interested to see how this Book of Boba Fett show goes, because
That's a
that's
little bit of
something.
a clunky title too.
Because it could either be really good or it could be just like pretty average, and everyone's just like, the armor, it's still cool.
I think we should call it
Still
Boba's
cool.
book from now on. Boba's book.
Yeah, and that and Grand Moff Gus.
Grand Moff Gus in Boba's book.
Yeah. But Josh, where can everyone find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram, which I don't post on a lot, or Twitter, which I'm going to get better at that, at J. Scott Sibley. But you can also find me with Instant Movie Reviews, which Instant Movie Reviews MN on Instagram, and Instant Movie Reviews on Facebook. And I think Instant Movie Reviews on YouTube as well. So those come out every Friday. We're doing a little movie, and I think Christmas is this Friday, so probably a Wednesday episode this week. I don't think people ask for a new episode of Instant Movie Reviews and want to know what Josh thought of Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. on their top of their Christmas list. So we'll probably have that come out earlier, but that's where you can find me.
Yeah. And you can find me at Brandon Prosek on Twitter and Instagram. And please subscribe and check out more Entertainment Buffet on YouTube. There's plenty of content coming out, and as well as just keep following the Entertainment Buffet podcast. And yeah, thanks for joining us, Josh, and hope to have
Thanks
you
for
on
having me.
again.
All right.